In this video, we're going to discuss how to set up workflow rules within the Intellivue GX application. Workflow rules can be used to route documents to different people within the organization for approval, and you can do multi-level approvals depending upon things like dollar amounts or different criteria that requires one or more individuals to approve a document. You can set up retention policies. So for documents that have a 7-year, 10-year, 15-year lifespan, etc., you can set up alerts or notifications that remind a user that this particular document is nearing the end of their 7-year retention period or whatever time frame that might be. And you can also set up notifications for individuals who have certifications that need to be renewed and things like that. You can set up those alerts to notify a supervisor or a user that in, for example, 30 days, this person needs to be recertified in this particular certification. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that and walk through a couple of examples here in the software. To begin, we use the Activity Center in GX to do those rules or to create those rules. We begin by clicking on this icon here, which is the editor icon, and as I click on it, it will expose to me the index and document attribute and system fields that are associated with, in this case, the human resources application. And we will use human resources as our example as we build out these workflow rules. So in this case, let's assume that I am a human resources person and I am responsible for the Columbus location, and I am responsible for any administrative document types of application and background check that have a document status of needs reviewed. So as you see, I simply selected the index or document attribute fields that I want to make a part of my workflow rule, and then selected the values within those fields to be my criteria for my workflow. As you can see here, you can also select to have the system prompt you for the value or multiple values that you want. But in this case, we're going to statically set it for the Columbus location and for applications and background check documents that have a status of needs reviewed. To test this rule, to validate that it works properly, I can simply go down here and click on the Run button. When it runs, you can see it brings back multiple results. I have 2 in this case for Paulette Ashford, and we have 2 documents, an application and a background check, and both have a status of need review. So I validated that my workflow rule works. So now I can go back into my icon and I can give this workflow a name. New hire documents for review. We'll call it new hire documents for review. Now I have some usage options available to me down here. If I click private, that means that I've created it myself and I'm the only one that can use it. If I select public, that means I've created a rule and I can assign it to other roles or individuals. If I select public, all users, it automatically gives this rule to all users who are logged into my system or assigned to my software. In this case, and as in most cases, we select public because we want to name the specific persons that we want to use this rule. And I'll click on the Save button. And that saves that rule that I've set up and tested and validated that it works. The next step is to go into the Search Activity Catalog, and I will expand my Human Resources application here, and you see that we have a couple of other rules already set up. We'll get back to those in a minute. I'm going to select my New Hire Documents for Review rule that we just set up, and I'm going to click on Authority. Here you will see that we can assign this rule to a role or to individual users. In this case, I'm going to go down here and select the HR demo user account, which is what I am logged into as the user in this system. If I click enable, it's going to turn that rule on for me, and it is also going to put it in a drop-down list up here in this Activity Center dialog box. If I check on inbox, it is going to make that rule active, and it's going to run in the background so that as certain documents come into the system that meet the criteria that I've defined in that rule, I will get an update or an alert in my inbox here that lets me know that I have work in the system to go in and do. If I hit apply, it's going to apply those settings, and I'm going to click close. You can also see over here on the right that I can click on notifications. So I could set up email notifications for person that I want to send this workflow rule to. All right, assign it to that person, and now as documents come into the system that meet that criteria, this person would get an email notice that lets them know that there is work within the system to do. In this case, I'm not going to assign an email notification, but I'm just simply going to activate this rule for my inbox. I'm going to close the dialog window. Now I am going to log out and log back in as my HR demo user. I log into the system. It sets up my profile settings. It's preparing my inbox. And as you can see here, my inbox tab shows me that I have 2 entries. If I click on this, I can see in the new hired documents for review, there is 1 entry. So that tells me that someone has added a document to the system that meets the criteria that requires me to review and approve those documents. If I double click on this, it shows me that I have 1 employee folder and I have 2 documents. Again, if I scroll over to the right, I have my application and my background check document that have a status of needs reviewed. As a user, I can then, a reviewer I should say, I can click on that selection and it brings up my document, in this case the application. As I do my review, if everything is okay on this, I can click on my attributes edits tab, and I can go down and change the status to complete or approved or whatever those values might be in your implementation. I click apply, and now that document has been approved, and I can click up here on the next folder to take me to the next document, which is my background check. And as I go through, as I look at this, if everything is okay and I'm ready to approve, I can select complete or approved, or again, whatever your solution options are. Hit apply, and now we are done with both those items. If I go back into my inbox and I double click on it, I get a message that no data is found because I have approved all my workflow. Now there are other things that you can do in the Activity Center as far as setting up workflow rules. When I open up my dialog box here, you'll see that I have a couple additional rules in here. One of them is enrollment documents to expire in 30 days. So this is an alert that this individual or individuals associated with the enrollment documents need to renew their enrollment forms or update their enrollment forms. If I click on this and I click edit, you can see that the workflow rule has selected a benefits document type, so one of our document attributes, where the document type is benefits election form. The other part of this rule is a function command, which is available down at the bottom of this list, and we have some text in here where the function is based upon the document date. So we had selected the document date attribute field, we selected the function command, and then we entered the text between get date, which is today's date, the day that I'm logged into the system, and minus 760 days. That is 2 years. Okay? And get date plus 730 days. So what this in effect is doing, it's looking at the document date attribute. So the date in the system of that document was added to the system, and it's checking for a 30-day window for out 2 years to allow the user 30 days to renew their benefits document before it reaches the end of that 2-year time period. So this would be when it reaches the end of the 2 years, and this is going back 30 days prior to that to allow the user a 30-day window again to complete their enrollment, updating their enrollment document. If you run this query, it looks like we have one document form, a benefit election form, that has met that criteria. So this user would get an alert, or their manager would get an alert that says Irene Kennedy needs to renew their benefits enrollment document. Another query that is set up in here is where we are performing a search by last name and administrative doc type. So if I select this and click on my edit button, I can see basically where we have a criteria that says, again, we've selected the last name as the index field, we selected like as the value, and the question mark is going to prompt the user to enter a partial or full last name. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down here and select administrative doc type and click on the prompt value. So it prompts the user to select either a single or multiple entries from this dialog window. I'm going to click Save to save the changes where we've added this attribute field. Okay, I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to bring it up again. I'm going to bring it in edit mode to show you what it would look like when it's run. If I click on the Run button, you can see that I get a dialog window, and it asks me to enter a last name, and I'm going to do partial, or ASH, and I say I want to see my application and driver's license and offer letter, if those documents exist in the folder for the person whose last name begins with ASH. If I click Continue, you see here that I get a results list for Paulette Ashford, and of those 3 document types, I had one document type that met that criteria, which is application. So as I mentioned, you can use the Activity Center to create a variety of different rules for managing the information within the system. You can have it prompt the user for values. You can have static values set. You can set up for alerts that when documents are due in a certain period of time, or you can set up purge utilities. More information on setting up the Activity Center can be found in the Intellivue GX user manual. If you go to your user manual and you go to the table of contents, there's a section on Activity Center. When you select that, Activity Center gives you more information on how to set up the rules within that dialog window to create the rules you need to manage your workflow. If you need additional assistance, you can also contact us here at Intellivue by sending an email to support@intellivue.com. I hope this information was helpful.